could see the towers long before I reached the city. They glittered on the horizon like tiny jewels. I was eager to arrive, but the horses were slow. It was already night by the time we reached Rowan's Gate. Up close, the towers were even more magnificent. Vast, bright pillars soaring into the night sky. I couldn't wait to soar with them. I rented a shabby little flat in Foundation and applied for a job at Belgrave's Emporium. Those first few days were so exciting for a girl from Miss Marsh. The Emporium was like nothing I'd ever seen. So big, so crowded, so elegant. And then I heard that the Emporium was nothing compared to the shops up on Skyway. An island floating in the sky. Just imagine. My neighborhood was hardly glamorous. It was drab and dark, overshadowed by the towers. But every morning I'd take the lift up to one of the city's bright and gaudy shopping districts and look for a job. I was determined to be up where the air was clear and I could see the bustling city below me. There was a beggar on my corner. An odd man with a crutch and a scrawny little cat. He asked passers-by for coppers. One day, I saw him on his knees, pleading with two members of the city watch. Some neighborhood thugs had taken his coppers and killed his cat. But the watch did nothing. They laughed, pushed him into the gutter and went on their way. There was a crowd watching. None of us did a thing. We just scuttled back to our homes and pretended that it never happened. I didn't get the job at the Emporium. I didn't get the next job either. Or the next. Then I counted my coppers and discovered that in a few days, I wouldn't be able to pay the rent for the shabby little flat. Someone told me there was always work in the Cogs. And what choice did I have? I didn't have enough money to go back to Miss March. The lift went down and down for what seemed like forever. When it finally stopped, I was deep underground. There I was, with 1,000 others ready to report for work in the Cogs. I didn't know much about the Cogs then. I'd always heard about Sharn's famous towers. I never asked about what lay underneath. Now, I was about to find out. I remember my first day in the Cogs. No sunlight reached us. Huge machines loomed in the shadows. And the people. I was ready for bugbears and goblins and warforged. Everyone knew about them. What I didn't expect were the others. People like me, wearing rags and huddled in shanties made from scrap. It was a long walk to the forge, through ruins and a shanty town. Strange metal things with too many legs scuttled up and down the path, hauling who knows what to who knows where. I was in another world. This is where I would spend my days, working deep in the underworld of Sharn. They called it a forge, but I had nothing to do with that part. I sat in a workshop making the cases for the device. My job was to hammer in the little wooden pegs that held the case together. Easy work for a wood joiner's daughter. If we asked what the device did, or how it worked, they told us it was none of our business. They watched us very carefully. None of us were allowed to discuss what we did at the forge. No strangers were allowed inside. People in fine robes went in and out of one of the workshops. No one knew what they did, and anyone who asked lost their job. So, We didn't ask. People in the workshop were always getting sick. Nothing too bad, just a nagging cough. Then a few weeks later, they'd be gone. They'd just never show up again. When I started to cough, I was gripped with fear. But I still took that lift down every single day. I needed the money to pay for my shabby little flat up in the light. It was just an hour or two before closing. We were working on the last pile of cases for the day. Suddenly, there was a tremendous roar. Everything shook as if the world was ending. The noise, I thought it would never stop. It was like metal screaming. The forge had toppled over because of the explosion. We heard shouts from outside. Everyone in the workshop rushed out, desperate to escape. Once we got outside, it was impossible to recognize anything. There was fire and wreckage everywhere. I was following my friend Aura at first, but I quickly lost her in all the smoke. I saw one of the men in robes run past. He was on fire. There were flames all around. I found a ramp leading up, but it turned out that ramp went nowhere. All I could do was stand up there on the walkway and look down at the flames below. Fire! Fire! I shouted. I was too high up for anyone to hear me. Besides, there was no one down there who could do anything about it. But you shout fire, because what else can you do? I ran as fast as I could for as long as I could. I looked everywhere. I was sure I would find a way out, but there was no way out. No matter how fast you run, you can't outrun the fire.